How did a 17-year-old boy from Kingston, Jamaica, become entangled in a crime spree that terrorized the United States?
They were just picking people at random. If you were out there where they could get to you, you were gone.
In October 2002, the Washington, D.C. area became the focal point of fear and shock as a series of sniper attacks left 10 people dead and 3 injured. The crimes, later known as the D.C. sniper attacks, were carried out by 2 perpetrators: John Allen Muhammad, a 41-year-old Gulf War veteran, and Lee Boyd Malvo, a 17-year-old Jamaican youth. For many Jamaicans, the revelation that Malvo, born and raised on the island, was involved in such heinous acts stirred a mix of disbelief and sorrow. Lee Boyd Malvo was born in Kingston, Jamaica, on February 18, 1985, to parents Leslie Malvo, a mason, and Una James, a seamstress. From an early age, Malvo's life was marked by instability. His parents never married, and when he was just 5 years old, his mother left his father and took Malvo with her to live with relatives in various towns across Jamaica. This frequent relocation prevented Malvo from establishing strong, stable roots and left him emotionally vulnerable. In his early teens, Malvo experienced a brief stability when he was baptized into the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Jamaica, guided by Pastor Lorenzo King. He was known to excel in academics and athletics, even winning a school award in the 100-meter dash at the Antigua and Barbuda Seventh-day Adventist School when he later moved to Antigua with his mother in 1999. However, this was short-lived, as Malvo's mother soon left for the United States on false documents, leaving him in Antigua. It was in Antigua that Malvo first met John Allen Muhammad, a man who would later change the course of his life. Muhammad quickly assumed the role of a father figure, which Malvo had been missing for most of his life. He offered guidance, a sense of purpose, and security, drawing Malvo even closer to him, even converting him to Islam. Muhammad's influence, however, was anything but positive. He isolated Malvo from his mother and planted him in a distorted worldview filled with resentment and a misplaced sense of purpose.
The very first shooting in Tacoma was the beginning of my journey all the way to Washington, D.C. During the next 9 months, John Marmon trained me to be a killer.
Muhammad, who had his own history of psychological and emotional issues following his service in the Gulf War, manipulated Malvo through a combination of emotional control, ideological indoctrination, and tactical training. Muhammad began isolating Malvo further, cutting him off from his mother and any connections he might have had. Under Muhammad's control, Malvo was converted to Islam in March 2001, and the two became increasingly close. When Malvo eventually reunited with his mother in Washington state in 2001, she was promptly detained by U.S. Border Patrol for illegal entry. Malvo remained under Muhammad's influence, and the pair moved together to Bellingham, Washington. Here, they lived in a homeless shelter, with Muhammad posing as Malvo's father. This phase of Malvo's life saw him completely under Muhammad's sway, with Muhammad training him the use of firearms and shoplifting. It was during this time that Malvo allegedly stole a Bushmaster XM15 rifle, the very weapon that would be used in the later DC sniper attacks. Muhammad had effectively groomed Malvo into becoming his accomplice, twisting the boy's impressionable mind toward violence.
The 5 deadly shootings happened in a matter of hours and in the same general area. Montgomery County Police have set up a command center at the scene of the 3rd murder in Aspen Hill. Our team coverage continues from there with Fox 5's Bob Barnard. Bob.
Well, Tracy, Montgomery County Police Chief Charles Moose says the killer is a very skilled shooter who started his rampage around 5:20 last night, shooting out the store window of a business just about a half-mile from here. It's the only one of the 6 shootings that didn't end in bloodshed and death.
The killing spree that would come to be known as the DC sniper attacks began on October 2nd, 2002, as Muhammad and Malvo took to the streets in a modified blue Chevrolet Caprice. They had transformed the car into a mobile sniper nest, cutting a hole in the trunk that allowed Malvo to fire the rifle while remaining concealed. Over the course of 3 harrowing weeks, the pair executed a series of attacks in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. They targeted unsuspecting civilians, often shooting from a distance as their victims went about their daily activities like shopping, filling their cars with gas, or walking. Each attack was seemingly random, with no apparent link between the victims, an aspect that heightened the public's terror and confusion. Now, let's take a look at some of the more notable incidents. October 2nd, 2002. The first shooting in Aspen, Maryland. The spree began in Aspen Hill, Maryland, with a shot fired through a store window that struck a man. Fortunately, he survived. But the random nature of the shooting set the tone for the weeks to come, leaving authorities uncertain if it was an isolated incident. October 3rd, 2002. This day saw a rapid escalation. In a span of just 2 hours, 4 people were shot and killed across Montgomery County, Maryland, in unrelated locations. At 7:41 a.m., a 55-year-old man was killed while mowing a lawn at a commercial landscaping site in Rockville. At 8:12 a.m., a 34-year-old man was shot dead while pumping gas at a mobile station in Aspen Hill. 8:37 a.m., a 54-year-old woman was shot while sitting on a bench outside a post office in Silver Spring. At 9:58 a.m., a 25-year-old woman was shot while vacuuming her car at a gas station in Kensington. Each victim was shot once, with remarkable precision. The series of incidents terrorized the community, as it became clear that a coordinated shooter or shooters were on the loose. October 9th, 2002. On this day, a 53-year-old man was killed at a Sunoco gas station. Like the others, he was shot while engaged in an everyday task, unaware that he was being watched. At this point, the attacks appeared to be targeting people without any connection to each other, heightening the unpredictability and fear factor of the shootings. October 11th, 2002. In Fredericksburg, Virginia, a 43-year-old woman was shot while loading her car with goods she purchased from a shopping mall. She was struck in the abdomen, but in a fortunate turn, she survived. This incident demonstrated the sniper's chilling lack of remorse as he shot yet another unassuming person in a public place. October 14th, 2002. A 47-year-old man was shot and killed outside a restaurant in Falls Church, Virginia. He was on his way to dinner when he was struck. The sniper attacks had now extended beyond Maryland, affecting residents across the DC metropolitan area. October 19, 2002. In one of the most disturbing incidents, a 13-year-old boy was shot in his chest while he arrived at school in Bowie, Maryland. Remarkably, the boy survived, but the targeting of a child intensified the community's dread. Families now felt vulnerable in places previously considered safe, and parents kept their children indoors and accompanied them closely in public spaces. October 22, 2002. Near the end of the spree, a 35-year-old bus driver was shot while standing at the steps of his commuter bus. This murder, committed in a high-traffic area, symbolized the attacker's ability to strike anywhere at any time. By this stage, residents were anxious and suspicious of any stranger or out-of-place vehicles, often avoiding public spaces altogether. In total, 10 people were killed, and 3 others were injured. The chilling nature of the shootings, random, seemingly motiveless, and deadly, caused widespread fear. For many Jamaicans, the brutality and lack of remorse were inconceivable. Malvo, just 17 at the time, appeared fully under Muhammad's influence. Believing in a fantastical plan that they would extort a $10 million ransom from the US government to establish a utopian society for homeless black children in Canada. The sniper's tactics of random public killings created a suffocating climate of fear and paranoia. Because the attacks were unpredictable, everyday activities, filling a car with gas, walking into a store, or simply sitting on a bench, were suddenly perceived as dangerous. The DC area saw a steep decline in public activity, as people feared going outside. Some parents stopped sending their children to school, and the businesses reported a drop in customer activity. Even law enforcement felt the strain, knowing the sniper could be anywhere. In the middle of the rampage, Muhammad and Malvo left a note demanding a $10 million ransom to stop the attacks, adding another layer of terror as the public began to realize the snipers were not only motivated by violence, but also sought to extort the government. After an intense multi-agency investigation involving clues, patterns, and profiling, Muhammad and Malvo were apprehended on October 24, 2002, while they were asleep in their car at a rest stop in Maryland. The modified vehicle, with its trunk hole, served as key evidence linking the car to the shootings. The arrest sent shockwaves through the Jamaican community. Many in Jamaica saw Malvo as a victim of manipulation, a young man who had been groomed and led down a dark path by an older, more controlling figure. Others viewed him as a cold-blooded killer, fully aware of the atrocities he had committed. During his trial, Malvo's defense argued that he was heavily influenced and controlled by Muhammad, who had allegedly SA'd him and instilled in him a warped idea. Despite these arguments, Malvo was convicted and sentenced to multiple life terms without the possibility of parole. Today, he is held at Keene Mountain Correctional Center in Virginia, a maximum security prison where he is serving his sentences. Malvo's story, while tragic, serves as a profound reminder of the vulnerability of youth, especially those who grow up without stable support systems. Jamaicans were left to ponder what might have been if Malvo had remained connected to his cultural roots, surrounded by family and the community who could have guided him through life's challenges. Instead, his life became a cautionary tale, highlighting the risks of broken family structures and the dangerous consequences of falling under the influence of destructive figures. In Jamaica, the Malvo case sparked conversations about the need to support at-risk youth, keeping them connected to their communities and protecting them from outside influences. While Jamaicans are proud of their resilient culture and close-knit family bonds, the case of Lee Boyd Malvo reminds them that the ties of kinship and the community are fragile, and that young people, if left adrift, can easily lose their way. Malvo's life is now one of solitude and reflection within prison walls, but the impact of his crimes continues to resonate both in the United States and his homeland. For many, his story is a tragic example of the consequences of manipulation and lost identity, a life that, if steered differently, might have had a vastly different path. Thank you for watching.